Hey, how's it going guys? It's Nate here. And since Skyrim's release way back in the ancient times of 2011, the community has created literally tens of thousands of mods, of varying scales and scopes. Some mods are as simple as a minor fix to a bug, whereas others are as large as entire Bethesda-made DLCs, offering dozens of hours of well-polished content. In today's video, I would like to dive into and provide an update on what very well may be the largest modding endeavor The Elder Scrolls V has ever seen. That's still a work in progress. The Beyond Skyrim project. Longtime viewers of the channel have likely heard me talk about Beyond Skyrim before, but it's actually been over a year since I last covered it, and a lot has changed. And there's been some new things approaching on the horizon. Just in case you're totally unfamiliar though, I know not everyone watching these videos literally studies the Elder Scrolls for a living. Let me offer a quick breakdown to get you up to speed. Beyond Skyrim, or BSK as I like to call it, essentially is a project that aims to create almost all of Tamriel and some other places in the Elder Scrolls V's engine, allowing us to go, well, beyond Skyrim, hence the name. Note, all these new environments are being depicted during the same time Skyrim takes place. So, while previous Elder Scrolls games have allowed us to visit places like Morrowind, for instance, before, now we're gonna get the chance to finally go back and see how they've changed in the time since. BSK began its development technically all the way back in 2011, though has evolved and expanded in many ways over the course of its long history. Surprisingly though, 8 years later in 2020, not only is it still chugging along, but it seems to be moving at a faster pace than ever before, and notably, has never had as large of a dev team. In fact, other mod projects have half-jokingly complained that they can't find any new devs because Beyond Skyrim has recruited everyone in the scene. Going a bit deeper, there are currently 6 major regions being worked on by the BSK group. Each has its own dedicated team. There's one team developing the province of Serie, one developing Morrowind, and one working on Elsewhere. Then, there's a really big team that's working on 2 neighboring provinces at once, Hammerfell and High Rock. That right there is 4, and the final 2 teams are developing Crea, a small island off Tamriel's northeastern coast, and Atmora, a continent that's said to be north of Tamriel. More than just adding in new land, the people behind these 6 teams are treating their zones as entire new games. Every province features its own multi-hour-long soundtrack, main quest line, side quest line, factions, and thousands of new items. As this visualization suggests, the sheer scale of the Beyond Skyrim project is massive, and it unquestionably has bigger ambitions than the vanilla game itself did. What I would like to do today is explore all 6 of the zones in depth, and describe the various stories the teams hope to tell, as well as make note of where each of these zones are in their respective developments as of June 2020. Anyway, without any further ado, let's do further. Before we begin though, brief word from the greatest premium audio products in the world, Raycon wireless earbuds. For just half the price of other high-end wireless products, yet for no sacrifice in quality, you can make the leap as I and so many others have. Boasting 6 hours of battery life, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, a noise-isolating fit, and coming in all sorts of colors, their everyday E25s are currently their best model yet, and what I've been wearing since the year began. As I've stated before, my favorite thing about them is the comfort factor. I'll wear a pair of earbuds for like hours at a time, and these are the only ones that never give me an ache. Furthermore, the case is also the best I've ever seen. Oh, and recently I got an extra pair which I gave to my mother, who's been working from home on her laptop lately, and she adores them. My dad loves them even more because now he doesn't have to listen to what she's doing. Anyway, if you'd like to relish in all of these quality of life improvements, visit buyraycon.com/theepicnate315, or click the link in the description for a 15% off discount, and enjoy. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming. We'll start with Cyrodiil, the heartland of the Empire. This is a place we first got to visit during the events of the Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion. And back then, Cyrodiil was a lush, prosperous region, with a thriving economy and industry. However, now we're getting to see it 200 years later, and man, has a lot changed. 2 decades ago, the Aldmeri Dominion invaded the Septim Empire, and sparked the Great War. Not only did the Empire lose this conflict, but Cyrodiil is where most of the fighting took place, and as a result, its landscape and cities were devastated. Today, the province has still failed to make anything close to a recovery. We'll get to see the scars left behind, and explore the sights and remains from some of the war's most famous battles. The Beyond Skyrim Cyrodiil team has been reasonably tight-lipped about spoiling any storylines. However, dev diaries and blog posts suggest the big narrative here will focus on a political struggle between various powerful factions and families who are hoping to take over the Empire and ultimately choose the next Emperor. It seems the Dragonborn's involvement may be what tips the scales in a certain side's favor. Of course, it'll probably be at the very least a year, though more than likely multiple years, before the Cyrodiil team completely finishes. Though you may recall back in 2017, BSK released a piece of Cyrodiil as a standalone sort of preview of what was to come. Beyond Skyrim Bruma let us explore the northern Bruma hold of Cyrodiil to get a sense of what we should expect. And oh man, was it not an incredible experience. Quickly raking in well over 1 million downloads, this preview mod felt as big as one of Skyrim's official DLCs, and featured dozens of side quests and hundreds of professionally voiced characters. Indeed, Bruma's release helped kickstart a newfound interest in the Beyond Skyrim project, as a community was just so blown away with the quality. Now, fast forward the clock 3 years later, in 2020, and the Cyrodiil team is reasonably far along in development with the rest of their province. In fact, they've finished designing most of the world space itself, and haven't hesitated from showing off their progress in numerous videos. Currently, their main focus is just populating the world with NPCs and quests. The next zone I want to cover is Crea. So, Crea is a small island said to be somewhere off of Tamriel's northeastern coast. Funnily enough, while it's definitely real, we've never actually seen it depicted on a map, nor do we know much about its lore, so the team has a lot of creative freedom. While I've already compared other BSK zones, such as Cyrodiil or Morrowind, to be as large as their own standalone games, Crea is on the tinier side of things, and should be thought of more as expansion size, not game size. Think around as big as Bruma or Solstheim. Nonetheless, this is still a humongous endeavor that will definitely offer tens of hours worth of playtime. Geographically, Crea is quite similar to Skyrim, featuring barren tundras in some areas, and lush green plains in others. Beware though, as beneath the surface, numerous ancient tombs and caves taunt curious explorers, and offer challenges of their own. The natives are known as Creans, and seem to have a very similar heritage and culture to Skyrim's Nords. Legend has it that 600 years ago, Emperor Uriel Septim V briefly invaded and conquered portions of the island. However, within a couple of years, the natives beat back the Imperial forces. Nonetheless, since then, some Imperial influences have still lingered, and the East Empire Trading Company seems to have a new interest. In part thanks to a much smaller workload, Crea is by all accounts the furthest ahead in its development of all the Beyond Skyrim zones. And, while nothing has been officially confirmed, some modders involved on the dev team in the Discord and on Reddit have stated that it's actually around 90% completed, and could be out this year. Though I've also heard other devs suggest it may not really be ready until mid to late 2021. Either way, given that Cyberpunk just got delayed again, I appreciate the modders not committing to a date until they're very confident. The third zone today is Morrowind, home of the Dunmer, or Dark Elves. Set to feature a playable area considerably bigger than Skyrim Zone, I can tell you off the bat, this one is game size. Like with Cyrodiil, we've gotten to explore Morrowind before in a previous game, The Elder Scrolls III. Though, notably, while The Elder Scrolls III did technically take place in Morrowind, and was even named Morrowind, it was really just set on the island of Vardenfell, and didn't allow us to explore the full province. Beyond Skyrim is developing the full region. So, while we will get to see some familiar lands, more than half of it will be totally new territory. Much like their Imperial cousins, the Dunmer of Morrowind haven't fared very well since our last visit. The eruption of the Red Mountain, the largest volcano in the world, located right in the middle of the province, devastated the entire region, and resulted in the flattening of cities, destruction of ecosystems, and even numerous famines. As we arrive, the recovery will barely be getting started. Furthermore, since the Empire abandoned the province, it's now ruled exclusively by a handful of the most powerful Dark Elf families, or houses, who are constantly scheming against one another. We'll certainly get the chance to influence such a fragile political balance. The full release of this mod is probably years away, given its massive size. However, the team is gearing up for a smaller pre-release, much like the Cyrodiil folks did with Bruma, that will be coming way sooner, and give us a taste of what's to follow. The New North is what they're calling the preview, and it will let us travel to a handful of islands off of Morrowind's northern coast. Announced in January of 2019, over a year and a half ago, the New North will feature elven cities, Dwemer ruins, and everything in between. No word yet on when the NN will debut, but the devs are clear they're making good progress, and we'll probably even be able to put it on the Xbox One. Either way, I'll bet good money it's out before The Elder Scrolls VI. Zone number 4 is Elsewhere, the famous homeland of the Khajiits. While this province spent most of the last 1,000 years as a part of the Empire, it's recently joined the Aldemari Dominion, and now bows to a new set of elven overlords, who govern through vassalized puppet kingdoms. Though, many of the catfolk still yearn for true freedom, and secretly resist the growing Thalmor influence. Geographically, Elsewhere is mostly desert, though many lush rainforests do occupy the south, where the soils are richer and water is plentier. Of all the Beyond Skyrim zones, Elsewhere is likely the earliest in its development, and as a result, concept art is still the most abundant media released. Though, we have seen a few shots of in-engine work, and various Khajiit-inspired buildings have been shown off. Additionally, the lore tells us that Khajiits are not native speakers of Common Tamrielic, or English. They have their own language, called Ta'agra, that they learn from birth, and the modders are learning said language and planning to integrate it into many conversations and books. A couple of videos already exist on the official Beyond Skyrim YouTube channel meant to teach viewers the basics. Now, Elsewhere 2 is getting a pre-release mod that will let us explore part of the province early. No official announcement or trailer has been published, but in multiple live streams, modders have stated they're working on a pre-release that will take place somewhere in the northeast of the province. To my knowledge, no exact map has been posted, but it will contain the cities of Rimmen and Riverhold, according to said streams. No word on the release date or how close to completion said pre-release is, but given the lack of a trailer or announcement video, I'd bet it's still very far off, as in a couple of years away. Still though, I'm happy to wait as long as it takes for the chance to finally see Mike the Liar's homeland. Let's now jump into zone number 5, Atmora. This one is really unique, and I should probably explain a few things first. Far more than just a province, Atmora is an entire continent in the Elder Scrolls' lore, said to be north of Tamriel. Legend has it that here is where the first humans were born, who then migrated south to Tamriel in the Merethic era thousands of years ago. Despite being where humanity originated, very little is currently known about Atmora today, as since the human migration, it suffered a sort of Great Freezing, or Ice Age, that saw temperatures fall so low, all observable life has perished. Today, it's so cold, no ships can even sail close enough to see the shore, and no one has bothered to create a map. With this context established, how exactly is a Beyond Skyrim mod here going to work? What will its story be, and what will the playable world look like? Well, let me just begin by saying the folks working on Atmora are definitely the most secretive of all the BSK teams. In their words, they want as much as possible to be a surprise for us. And despite Atmora having been in development since 2015, literally 5 years now, they've stayed true to such a philosophy, and shown us quite little. What we do know is that the mod probably isn't going to encompass all of the Atmoran continent, but instead only take place in a small chunk of it. This is because Beyond Skyrim members have stated the entire size of the new playable map will be around as big as 3 Skyrim holds. Furthermore, a major point of emphasis on our journey will be the exploration of old ruins, left behind by the ancient humans that once thrived here ages ago. And it's heavily implied we'll learn a bit more about why exactly the continent got so cold in recent years. Atmora is also being made with the survival mod Frostfall in mind, which will force players to take special efforts to stay warm in such a frigid climate. It's not required that you'll have to play Atmora with Frostfall, but highly recommended. As for a release date, nothing has been announced, though the project does look to be in its final stages of development. And we know that back in early 2019, some of the folks working on it were hoping it'd come out before 2020, though they made no announcement, they just said that was a hope. Clearly, such a thing didn't come true. Given the mysterious philosophy of the team, I wouldn't be surprised if they just randomly uploaded the entire thing sometime next year. And finally, the last zone isn't just one Skyrim province, but it actually encompasses the entirety of 2 neighboring provinces, Hammerfell and High Rock. These are coming together for what the modders call the Iliac Bay. To the north, High Rock is a lush and at some points mountainous region, with a culture that's heavily inspired by feudal Britain and France. The warriors in this region who can afford to don full-plated heavy metal armor and call themselves knights, abiding by a strict code of chivalry. Members of the aristocracy style themselves with titles such as Duke, Prince, King, and other things you might be familiar with. By 201 of the 4th era, High Rock technically remains a part of the Empire. However, it's unclear just how deep that imperial influence permeates, and it's obvious many of the regions of this province have a high level of autonomy. To the south, Hammerfell is a province that's largely blanketed by the vast, unforgiving Akalir Desert, though its coastlines and some northeastern mountain ranges offer more temperate climates, where most of the people live. The natives of this region call themselves Red Guards, and unlike their Hierarchian neighbors, the people of Hammerfell only 20 years ago gained their independence from the Empire, and they're going through some growing pains. Currently, 2 major factions dominate the region's politics: the Crowns, who are a heavily traditionalistic and nationalist faction, and the Forebears, who are a bit more cosmopolitan and bear more imperial influences. In fact, many of the Forebears pray to imperial gods. With such an incredible size, it's unlikely the full Iliac Bay project will be released anytime soon. Though, it too is getting a pre-release. Beyond Skyrim 3 Kingdoms will allow us to explore chunks of High Rock and Hammerfell, specifically letting us visit the Breton kingdoms of Gehenna and Faerun, as well as the Abyssian Isles, off the coast of Hammerfell. We know work on this pre-release mod has been ongoing for the past 3 years. However, just like so much else with this project, we're unsure where exactly it's at currently and when it will release. We're still seeing constant progress being made in dev diaries, as well as some things the modders have shown off in the Discord server, though it's difficult to estimate where exactly they're at. Whatever happens, I can't wait to show it to my grandkids. And there we have it, the 6 major zones of the Beyond Skyrim project. as mentioned, Black Marsh is also kind of being worked on, but it seems to just be in a conceptual stage. Clearly, this is an insanely ambitious endeavor that will take probably at least 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8 years to be fully completed. But with the pre-releases on their way, and smaller packages such as Crea and Atmora, it's possible we can see quite a bit of new Beyond Skyrim content much sooner. With so many years already in development and such a well-organized team, I think it's fair to say that the people working on Beyond Skyrim recognize that what they're doing is quite ambitious, and are taking the goal and their limitations quite seriously. Which is a large part of what I think makes people so excited for it. Very few mod teams are patient enough to sit through 5 to 8 years of development and polish out all of those buffs to get the maximum amount of quality possible. But that's exactly what's being shot for here. Anyway, this is where we are going to wrap up the video. In the description and/or pinned comment down below will be various Beyond Skyrim affiliated links, where you can check out their subreddit, Discord, website, etc. And from there, not only learn more, but if you're interested, even apply to join the team. Applications are always being considered for writers, level designers, composers, voice actors, 3D modelers, pretty much everything. So if you'd like to have a hand in ever so slightly speeding up those release dates, well, that's definitely the avenue to pursue. Thanks so much for stopping by, everybody. What about Beyond Skyrim excites you the most, and which regions are you the most hyped to explore? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everyone.